Hey guys, welcome to the Save Continue podcast, where every week we get together and talk about video games and video game related stuff. As always, I'm Shanae Howard, and with me is Tommy Shelby
Hello, I'm here.
and Ryan Robinson.
Hello, my name is Ryan Robinson, not Tom Shelby. I just want to clear that
Mm,
up.
hmm
Yeah.
hmm
Thanks. I said it in a very confusing way, with like one after the other,
I just been
but
getting a
yeah.
lot of questions about who's who, so I just want to clear it up.
Hey guys, what have y'all been playing? I missed last week, and um, but I did listen to the show.
Yeah.
So, what have y'all been playing this past week?
I've been playing a lot more Proteus. Still playing that, and it's so good. It's just so good. And people are like, "Oh, it's early access, so you beat it in 3 hours." I'm like, dude, there's so much stuff to do.
There's
You
so
know?
much. Tom, you showed me that
Yeah,
that beginnings of a Quake level, mind you.
yeah. You find
So
Quake levels. Like half of Doom 2016 has been remade. Like, there's a ton of stuff in there.
yeah,
Um, and I think like I never really thought about it, but like that's super smart for an early access title to have user created content in there.
yeah, yeah.
Um, anyway, I've been playing that. Ryan and I were discussing emulators. I've been playing Metroid Prime with mouse and keyboard, and it's awesome. Metroid Prime is already awesome, but with mouse and keyboard, holy shit, is it great? Maybe a little bit
It's
too easy with mouse and keyboard,
Yeah, because it's balanced
but
specifically for that controller.
right,
Yeah,
but like still so good.
yeah.
Uh what else? I started this game like several years ago and I played like 10 minutes of it and I put it away. And it's this budget title called Deadfall Adventures.
Why does
And
that
it's a
sound? That sounds so
first person
familiar.
shooter. You're like some Indiana Jones-esque dude, right? Going around these temples and shit, and I think right now I'm in like the Arctic. Uh but like it's kind of neat. Like there's these puzzles and the puzzles are kind of not great, you know. But like it's fun. It's a fun game. Uh you have bad puzzles when like you've done the puzzle correctly, but there's a glitch. So you're spending an hour trying to figure out, well, what was I supposed to do?
It-
Only to realize you did it right. The
yeah,
game just fucking glitched.
that's the twist at the end of the film, Tom.
Yeah. But if you're looking for a
the
cheat,
correct answer was was a
like
frustration in your heart all along.
like like FPS Tomb Raider-y
Yeah.
combo.
I just took a look
It's
at
not
this.
bad.
I just took a look at some screenshots, and
Yeah.
it looks like my kind of because like it looks like
Yeah.
a older. It's an older game, right?
Yeah, and it's definitely budget.
Yeah,
But
but
it's got some cool mechanics. And like, there's mummies. Who doesn't like mummies,
I love mummies.
And it does like the whole Alan Wake thing where you gotta like shine them with your flashlight first.
Oh, but no scared wife though.
No, no scared wife. You do have this lady who like initially she hates you, right?
Cool,
But then like you compliment her butt one time, and
nice.
like suddenly she's in love with you.
Hey, yeah, that's how
You
it
know?
works, baby.
That's
That's
how it
yeah,
works.
that's you're.
That's how I got a ring on my finger. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
What was
the first butt compliment. Yeah.
yeah?
Mhm.
Oh damn,
Yeah.
this guy might be real.
Yeah. I mean, basically. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I like the sound
But
of that.
yeah, that's it. Of all of them, play Proteus. Play it.
Yeah. Uh, I was so excited at your reaction to Proteus.
Yeah.
I was really hoping you would like it. I'm glad that you do.
I got a Proteus shirt coming.
Oh, nice. You're real into it then.
Yeah, it's super good.
Cool. Um,
What about you, Ryan?
so lots of Monster Hunter Rise. So that's still like a lot of it. Okay, I love playing it whenever I can. So been playing that, getting a little bit further in the game. Been doing more multiplayer stuff with my friends, and that's been a lot of fun. It, it's annoying though that the Switch doesn't have an onboard voice chat solution. I'm annoyed at having to use any kind of external app for it. Like we've been using Discord for voice chat, but it's just I'd rather not have to do that, honestly. But other than that, I've been having a really good time. I'm learning more. I'm engaging more with the systems of the game than I did in previous titles. Like a lot of like the background simulation stuff that goes on. That's been a lot of. I've been having fun like recruiting Palico buddies and recruiting Palamute buddies, and like they're all so cute. And I just kept because I was sitting here with Kaylee last night, and I was like, which one should I pick? And like every time she said, "Oh, that one's cute," and they're like, "You're hired. You're cute, so you got hired." And but they're all cute, so they all got hired. You know.
I was like, well, very large staff then.
Yeah, but it's a lot.
There's not like one that like you hate, so he's not hired.
No, well, actually, there was one that Kaylee saw because I think she didn't. I think it was the ears she didn't like because he had rounded ears, like almost like a teddy bear's ears.
Yeah,
and she did not. She didn't.
There's this. There's like this green koala dude on my sister's Animal Crossing island named Lyman.
Yeah.
And she's so mean to this guy, trying to get him to leave, but he's been there for months. He won't leave.
Yeah. Well, he's happy there.
Yeah,
it's his home.
You don't talk to them, but also there's a bunch of tricks to get them to leave.
No, you don't understand, Shanae. She's got everybody to leave that she's wanted to. It's just this one guy.
Oh, he was sent.
Yeah.
He didn't just come to town. He was sent.
Lyman.
Yeah. He's not leaving until his mission's complete.
Mm-hmm.
If your sister's okay with time traveling, I know a foolproof way.
Oh, she's got to go back to the past and fix a mistake she made.
Essentially, yeah. Like you just like need to go like back a week if you like see something. But yeah.
It's your kids.
It's just funny because like whenever people talk about time travel in Animal Crossing, it's always because the time travel is always because like they messed up something, and it reminds me of Curtis on Misfits and him going back in time every time something gets messed up for him.
Yeah.
yes.
It's just but
yeah, we are all a misfit when it comes to Animal Crossing.
Sure. I mean, you're the only human there, you know.
I mean, yeah. Besides the other island owners.
Sure, but I don't allow anyone else. Also, still, okay, I feel like I really, 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 really feel like I'm near the end of Persona 5 Royal.
Really?
Shanae's already on her 5th playthrough.
Right? She's doing laps around me.
When it's my turn, I'll talk about it. And it's 6. Thank you very much.
What?
No. This isn't Fire Emblem Three Houses.
So like so one of the characters, Haru, there's a point in each confidant where it says, okay, this is the time to romance this person. This is the time to, if you're gonna make your move, this is the time. Otherwise, that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
This is when you should put it in.
Sure. So any other time,
shoot your shot.
any other time, I have said, you know what, we're gonna keep this platonic. Then the character was like generally fine with it. Like there was maybe a hint of disappointment, but they're generally fine, right? Well, with Haru, I was like, you know what, like we're really good friends, right? Also, I've already got a girlfriend who's on the team, and it would get messy, right? But
because Makoto is your homegirl.
Yeah. So like when I said like we're just friends, like she was the only one who was like, oh, I understand. Well, hey, listen, I've got some homework to do, so you should probably go home. And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. I understand. I
didn't mean to turn you down.
I'm so sorry. You're my friend, and I care about you. But yeah, the story is getting to the point where I'm just like, holy shit, what is gonna happen? I don't know how to talk about things like this without spoiling them, so I don't want to get into too much detail for anyone who's listening who is still working their way through the game. But I'm really excited to see where this conclusion is headed because
Which palace are you at? Like, don't say whose it is, but like, what's the theme of it?
it was well, the last one I did was a cruise ship. Yeah.
Yeah, you're near the end.
Yeah, so it's
If there's one. I mean, there's one more. So I believe, unless they change that.
well, I'm going based on because you get a trophy for every palace that you complete, and then there's a trophy for completing every palace. And after that last one I didn't get that trophy, so so I guess there is one more, unless what I'm doing currently counts as a palace. I don't know, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to completing that game. I'm and it's a little bittersweet, right? Because like I've enjoyed this time with these characters and this adventure thus far, and the whole thing is just so it's gonna be. But I still have Persona 5 Strikers to look forward to after this, so I'll get to spend a little bit more time with them after that. But
Don't forget, four Goldens on Steam, so you can play that there.
Yeah, that's true.
And also, I think it's coming to PS4.
That would be cool. I never. That's one that I didn't play. See, like, because I played a lot of the Shin Megami Tensei games prior to 3, and then there were some games that came out around the time 3 came out. And I never played them, and I skipped 4, but I always hear great things about 4.
Yeah.
So
it's 3.
Is it?
Like, it's 3 with better characters.
Okay. So yeah, I'll definitely give it a shot. I don't think I have it in me for another Persona game right off the bat though. Like I'm about 200 hours in at this point. I think.
Yeah.
I think I need a break, but yeah.
Anything else you've been playing?
Yeah. No Man's Sky. Still working my way through that expedition. That
She's
I'm
playing
on.
it right now.
Downtown.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Kaylee's been hitting it pretty hard. And she's pretty much done with the expedition because I've been sidetracked by Monster Hunter so much that I haven't really played a lot of it. But I finally decided I dove back into it today, and I'm trying to make some progress on it. So, but yeah, No Man's Sky still one of my favorite games. Love it. And there were a lot of crashes that were happening around the launch of this expansion, but they've been addressing.
Not surprisingly.
They've been addressing them, and it's been getting better on a weekly basis. So, but yeah,
because that's a pretty massive game. So any expansion is just like it's a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot to like add to like.
Yeah, it's been fun though. It's been fun like kind of watching like the game grow and change over the last 4.5 years. So, but
I feel so crazy that's how long it's been out.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty much been my thing. So.
I haven't played a lot of video games. I part of the reason I also wasn't here last week, I didn't tell y'all, is I went for like a dream job that I am not qualified for yet, but put in a lot of effort. Learned like a bunch of systems. Did not get the job.
Did you flip the table when they told you no?
No, they were super gracious about it. They said like fit and the content that I provided and just like a bunch of stuff was good. I just don't have basically the degree or the hard experience to tell HR, hey, I'm the best choice for this.
Yeah.
Essentially. So, but they basically are going to be doing a lot of concessions for me in the next like 6 months to where I can like build up a more portfolio. So if something else opens up, they can take me. So rejected, but in the kindest way.
Sure. Well, better luck next
Did
time.
they give you a compliment sandwich?
No, it was like bad news and then just compliments.
Yeah.
Oh, so you got a compliment sundae sprinkled with bad news.
Yeah, but I mean like I got a different promotion, so
yeah, so still getting that paper.
Yeah. It's just the difference between like a $4,000 a year raise to like a $20,000 a year raise, like
Oh,
more than what I'm making now. So like,
well, that sucks, man. Well, that'll
I
maybe
mean,
in the
yeah,
future.
yeah, on there. So I've been with that I haven't been playing games because I've been spending all my waking moments either house hunting or trying to go really hard for this job. And even though disappointing didn't get it, like still super proud. Like I have been like busting my ass
Yeah.
learning new systems and different things. So it's been pretty fun on that front. I've been like it's kind of funny, and the main reason I bring it up is because I do the thing that I do a lot in video games, or I did the thing when I was like learning it because I would like one basically trying to like I know that I can use this tool to do a certain thing. How do I do that certain thing, and then work backwards from that? And I do that a lot in games too. And then if I hit a roadblock, I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna work on this other stuff that I do know how to do, and I'm gonna come back to this fight later, or like this thing, and then or a puzzle, and try to figure it out later.
Yeah.
So that was fun. I also started a new TV series, The Expanse. It's fucking great. It's so good.
Yeah.
I'm really mad that I like waited so long to watch it. It's probably one of the best like space dramas, like sci-fi dramas I've seen in a really long time. It's like granted it's based off a book, but like it feels like a fully developed world.
Yeah.
The acting's phenomenal. Like
That's how I
it's
feel about Smallville, It's based off a book,
Sure.
fleshed out world, acting's phenomenal,
Sure. Sure. They're the same.
Smallville on the WB.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm on book 3 of The Expanse, and like it is like I don't know how like I've heard that there are parallels between the two that are pretty close, but the universe that they've built out in these books is just fantastic.
so
It's expansive.
Sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's
so
a word.
I've joined an online community for it. I finished season 1. So where season and but the online thing says that the books do differ quite a bit, like going more forward. But I just got so oh my gosh, what just happened? So the Martian ship's blown up and they know about Phoebe and they had their first so I just spoil it. They come across like this living organism in like a reactor, but they don't really know what it is. But it's
The-
like growing, and when they turn the reactor on, it starts like reacting, starts reacting to it.
The
Is it the
proto-molecule.
symbiote?
And it is basically a symbiote.
The proto-molecule.
Yeah, the proto-molecule, and
It's the symbiote.
they immediately like one guy like they're kind of like floating.
We are
close to
Venom.
they're floating close to it because they're in space and like and then when they see it and notice like how it's acting, they're immediately like nope and leave the place immediately and then blow up the ship that they saw this thing on. And I'm just like, yes, so much sci-fi. They're like, let's touch this weird thing we just found. There could be no like consequences.
So
I mean, that's like every alien movie,
yeah, well,
Gotta
'cause
do it.
you got to see what it does, right?
Yeah, no, this one they were like, no, this looks so fucking weird. Not touching this shit, blowing it up so it can't affect nobody else. Fuck this shit.
Yeah.
And I love that. But to kind of go back though a little bit, we were talking about it. What was the name of the game that just mentioned before I started talking?
No Man's Sky.
Not No Man's Sky, but there's another one after that. Anyways,
Persona Sky.
Persona, yes. So we were talking. So that's actually one of the games that I have for our topic, and this week we are going to talk about changes in video game franchises, and negative or positive, like in the game, particularly in the game itself. Like
Okay.
I know, you've played more Shin Megami Tensei games than I have, Tom. I know for a fact.
No.
You haven't?
I've played not much SMT. Like, yeah, I mean, yes, Persona at one time was an SMT spin-off. But, SMT proper, no, not really. I mean, here and there, but not much. Ryan's probably played more.
One thing that they, like, SMT has done, obviously, is a bunch of spin-offs that some of them have become their own properties. Like I play like the Digital Devil Saga. But I think that like
The digital dong.
SMT, yeah, the Digital Dawn.
Yeah.
But I think like SMT has done a really good job with like pivoting more than I'd say like other franchises for sure. And like with the spin-off, if it does well, then make its own thing. 'Cause with Persona, I know the first two were more of like an RPG based off characters in SMT games, but then 3, 4, and 5 have been more adding more of the like sim elements and things like that. And I think that like they are like super good at pivoting on as far as that goes.
Yeah.
Another
I mean, what do you mean
series.
good though?
So like obviously people really like the Persona games, so they kept making them,
Okay, sure.
and they like, and so they
Because they
like,
want
and
that
then
money.
they like, yeah, but also like if people are wanting that game and it's a well-made game, I'm glad they're doing it.
Yeah.
But to kind of like go back a little bit though, like the first, what made me think of this topic was I know we talk about it a lot, but the Final Fantasy games. And it's also like the spin-offs and the divergence. Like, yes, they've done the MMOs, but even within the RPG sphere, like they've done a more linear one with 13. They have the tactics. They have the like lightning returns. They have the like the rhythm game based off the music because the music's beautiful. And I think that they like obviously they have all the money. They have the Square and Enix money, but like
There ain't no NX money.
I don't know. I really like seeing a series change a lot, and I think, of course, like
Huh?
Shanae?
Shanae? Uh-oh.
Did
Uh-oh.
we lose her?
I can see Ryan moving.
Oh.
Tom's
There
still
we
frozen
go.
for me.
Okay. We can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear you. So.
But yeah, I really like seeing like how, especially like long-standing video game franchises, how they change and adapt
Yeah.
to like different markets, and then also what they like decide to kind of put out there. I think a lot of the things for Final Fantasy make sense, especially when they started doing online games and how MMORPGs were like becoming more popular on console. Um,
I mean,
I
they've only
also
done 2, right?
Yep.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 11 and then Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
So like later.
I
But
I don't much care for the way Final Fantasy has changed, honestly. Like, I I understand, like, they're definitely going after a broader audience, which is smart for them, right? You make the games easier to play and you can draw in more people, and that makes sense. Uh, so I don't know. I get it. I understand why they do it, but like I feel like if I want a classic turn-based JRPG nowadays, uh, I have to look elsewhere, right? Like fucking Dragon Quest or something like that. Like Dragon Quest has not really changed, right? Like it's a bit better looking, and some systems have been refined, but like it's still a very old school RPG. I miss that in Final
like
Fantasy.
I've heard that there's like some pretty big deviation in between Dragon Quest. But I think I might just be thinking
I mean,
about
yeah, if you're looking at like
builders and heroes
exactly,
is what I'm thinking
I'm talking
of,
about the
probably.
mainline shit. The mainline Final Fantasies
That
have changed. Have changed so much.
Yeah.
Have changed so much. And like that's not to say that 15's bad, and I'm really enjoying the 7 remake. But I do wish they had the option for a traditional turn-based combat system.
Yeah.
I feel that. I think that obviously like yes, trying to do a broader net has appealed them like more fans. But I
Yeah.
think even when they do like more, I mean, they're less and less traditional. They're less like turn-based RPGs, but I still feel like when they make RPGs, they're still like great RPGs in that like line, and I think that they are different enough where I don't feel um like with Assassin's Creed where I'm playing the same game over and over again, like with slight variations.
Sure, sure, I get that. But like, if you think about the early Final Fantasy games, right? 1 and 2, yes, are quite similar, but there are some big differences there. But when you start getting into like 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, like they are very different games with very different systems, right?
Yeah.
Even 13, right? Like people love 13's battle system. They don't care for a lot of the other shit, but as far as the battle
The
system
battle
goes, people
system
really
is
liked
similar
it.
to other, but the battle system is
Um,
similar to other stuff that they've done. Um, at least in my
yeah.
opinion.
I mean, yeah, turn-based systems are going to be similar, right? But like, I don't know. Like people thought ATB, granted ATB was a long time ago, but people think ATB is like was such this revolutionary thing, right? And it's like such a small thing, but you saw that carried over into other games, whether that be Super Mario RPG, right? Or fucking Child of Light or whatever it might be. I'd be okay with that even. And yeah, there is some sense of ATB in 7 Remake, but like I like 7 Remake. I'm having fun with it. I feel like I can just run through pressing random buttons and be pretty successful, you know. And that's not what I'm there for.
Yeah.
But
So, like with 7 remake, does it feel like, because you know how like sometimes, like I would talk about like how it's like Perfect Dark Zero is a fine shooter, but it's a bad Perfect Dark game.
yeah.
So is it like, you think that maybe Final Fantasy 7 remake would be something you enjoyed a little bit more if it weren't under the Final Fantasy like banner, or what do you
No,
think?
not necessarily. I mean, I enjoy it, and I enjoy it because of the Final Fantasy 7 stuff, you
Okay.
know. Because of that stuff is
Right.
why I'm liking it. Um Otherwise I probably wouldn't play it, honestly,
Sure.
you know. But yeah, I don't know.
Like I think that I don't know. I think that I didn't really start paying attention to Final Fantasy really until 7. I'm not one of those people who like played who played a lot of the NES or Super Nintendo games.
Yeah.
But you know, at the same time, like I had played quite a few JRPGs that were similar enough to where I could make that connection, right?
Right.
And they like I feel like what they were doing with Final Fantasy, like they would experiment with little changes here and there that like I would never see again in subsequent titles.
Yeah.
And there were some things that like they would do that like, man, I wish that either they were doing this before or they would do this moving forward. And the one that I always go back to when I talk about Final Fantasy is the battle system from 10, specifically with the ability to switch party members in and out like whenever you want. And I was always like, why weren't they doing this before?
See, but that's what I mean. That's
so
what I
much
mean
sense.
when I told you today. I do feel like the more traditional Final Fantasies were different enough.
Sure.
Whether it's something like that, or job systems, or materia, or
Right.
ATB, or whatever it might be, there is enough differences between
HEB?
them.
But like, and like even still, like, and I guess like I don't know if it's that I like Final Fantasy so much that I like 15, or that I just like Final Fantasy 15 just because I like it.
Yeah.
And there were but like
Also would like it even if it wasn't Final Fantasy because like you do love a good boy story.
yeah, but like I also think that like, and I also wonder though that because there were enough shortcomings with there were left like little small shortcomings with the battle system of Final Fantasy 15 that I think sometimes like what if this were a turn-based game, right? Because like there are some things because there are some things in the combat that aren't explained overtly well, and they're like I kind of just sometimes I pull certain things off at random. Like I still don't understand how summons work in that game, honestly. Every once in a while
it
like,
happens.
like every once in a while like Shiva would show up and I'm like, oh, there she is. I forgot that she was hanging out. But or like with using magic in that game, right? Like Noctis is the only one who can use magic, and also when he like all magic is AoE thing that can hit your friends, so you're always like really cautious about using it. And so I wonder if if combat in that game had a more structured feel as opposed to like a more free flowing, like button mashy kind of thing, if that stuff would have coalesced a little bit better. But I also think that like, despite that, I enjoy the world and the characters enough to where like I can, overlook that.
Exactly, right. That's exactly why I played 7 Remake, is because of that shit.
Yeah.
And Persona's a good example, right? Persona has kept traditional turn-based gameplay going for a long time.
Yeah.
Granted, it was quite a long time between 4 and 5.
Yeah.
But
there was like 6 different like iterations of 4, so it wasn't.
There
that
was
long.
2,
Yeah,
2
I'm just
iterations.
teasing.
But yeah.
I would say like a larger shift in a franchise that I think is probably another good example is Star Fox Adventures. Granted, that game was originally supposed to be a Star Fox game.
Yeah.
Star Fox game, and it was like later slapped on there. But I do know a lot of people really like that game. They look for that game. That game is still quite pricey.
I
like that game. We've talked about Star Fox Adventures on here before.
I've never played it. I remember the box. Fox has some kind of bow staff looking thing, and there's a lady fox.
Yeah, Crystal.
Yeah.
It's a good game. It's not a good Star Fox game, but it's a good game.
Yeah.
I think they could have kept it Dinosaur Island, but slapping Star Fox on there was probably pretty smart.
Yeah. Didn't like another like more traditional Star Fox game come out after that?
Assault.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I only played the first 2 Star Fox games, and I never actually touched another one. Yeah.
The rest of them are bad.
But like, wasn't like Adventures like more like a third person?
Yeah, it's like Zelda. It's very Zelda.
Okay.
It's very much like Zelda. When I was doing like looking stuff up and talking to other people about this topic, another one that came up was Dynasty Warriors 1 to 2. Apparently, I never played the first one. I feel like I played the second one, but apparently the first one is very much like 1v1 combat. It doesn't get into like the giant field of like hordes of enemies until 2.
Yeah, that's 2 was the first one that I played.
And I think that was obviously a good move for them because that's what they're known for, and people love those games. And I don't know, like when I looked at a couple of the videos of the like first one, granted like dated because of the time, like I was like, I don't think I would have gotten down for this. Like 2 is definitely what I think. That or I played a Dynasty Warriors Gundam game was like my first one.
Yeah.
But like the masked horde enemies thing in like a hack and slash feature, I think that was a brilliant move for them to change.
On the same note, like I don't know if you guys would consider it part of the same franchise or not, but like, Koei Tecmo and what's the other one? Something Force. I don't know, the companies that make all the Musos.
Yeah.
Right. I do feel like more recently they've changed for the better, right? And I'm talking about games like Fire Emblem Warriors, Hyrule Warriors 1 and 2, Berserk and the Band of the Hawk. Like, you play them and they are still very Musou, but they are much more interesting and they have more going on than, say, the 360 and PS2 games did. They're definitely evolving for the better, in my opinion.
Sure. I never was able to really I was never really able to tell the difference between the Dynasty Warriors games for the most part. But I'm not also not an avid hardcore fan of those games. Like, I play them.
Oh, neither am I.
Sometimes whenever like I come into possession of one or whatever. But I was never and I was at a point though where I was just like, maybe these games are just always this, right? And they never, because I don't remember ever. I played a few of them and I don't remember a standout feature of any of them that set them apart from the
there
other
was
titles.
One Dynasty Warriors that was maybe a launch window game for 3DS, and I don't think earlier games did this, but I think now they typically do, where you can switch between characters during battle,
Yeah.
To control different points. and I liked that. But
Yeah, because I do remember that like typically what they would do was you like each character had like a little like a self-contained little campaign, and then you would just go through each of those.
Campaign.
Campaign. It's a good word.
Another shout out that I wanted to do, which was also suggested by somebody, is apparently Jack 2 is highly different than the rest of the Jack and Daxter series. Also looking into it, apparently it's the only one that was rated T for teen.
Oh.
They're all
E
different.
for everybody.
They're all different.
I've only ever played the first one, so.
So Precursor Legacy is like very much old school platformer,
Right.
you know? And then Jack 2 deviates from it. Jack 3 deviates even farther. Daxter is kind of its own thing. Like, really, no Jack games are the same. There's similarities, but...
So is there like a convention to that series, or...
What do you mean?
Like,
in what way?
Like, is there something...
Apparently, you just have to put the characters in there.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, because...
I've never played the series.
Yeah,
so,
'cause
like, I didn't know how
the-
different or any of that.
Yeah, the way you're describing it, Tom, the only constants in Jack and Daxter are Jack and Daxter.
I mean, kind of, yeah. There are things that are constant, sure, but like, you know, Precursor Legacy. I mean, you said you've played that one, right? It's much more of a collectathon. You're collecting the eggs. You're going around. You have very Crash Bandicoot-esque moves.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then by 2, you've got a bit more weaponry. I'm not going to say it's like on par with like Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
But there's more of that kind of stuff. By 3 almost feels like GTA light, you know? Like, they're very different games.
Hmm.
And then last shout out for games that I did not play is apparently Stronghold 1 to Stronghold 2. There is a pretty like big difference in tone and gameplay.
I don't even know what those are.
I've never heard of those, I don't think.
Not Stronghold, Stranglehold.
There's only one Stranglehold.
Yeah.
There's 2.
No, the first one is Hard Boiled, the movie.
Which is a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Stranglehold is the sequel to that movie.
Stronghold is what I did to myself earlier. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Moving on.
Gave myself a stronghold.
Another series, obviously, long time as well, is the Pokemon franchise. I think, of course, there is like I don't want to call them numbered games, but I guess like
mainline Pokemon games.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that they have obviously not deviated as much as other things on this list.
Yeah.
But I do think that with starting with White and Black 2, they've been really trying a lot of different things.
No.
Like the fact. Okay, you can disagree. That's fine. But yeah, I like Pokemon White and Black 2 was the first time that you visited the same region in a different game.
Yeah.
Also, just to like put it in there, I think I'm not gonna count like the Snap and like mobile games, but I will say that like the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
But Mystery Dungeon is its own thing, though. You know, Mystery Dungeon exists without Pokemon.
Does it?
Yeah.
But Pokemon Mystery Dungeon obviously cannot exist without Pokemon.
Mystery Dungeon as a franchise exists without Pokemon.
Oh.
Did it?
Yeah, because
the only ones I've ever heard of are the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon.
There's a Chocobo Mystery Dungeon too.
And they aren't they like basically Etrian games?
I think so.
I mean, essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say that I also, I mean, I don't know. I feel like they didn't do it as well as like other franchises, but also Game Freak isn't particularly great at making games.
I like you to talk. I have a friend named Timba, the badass elephant that I would like to talk to you about.
Yeah, Drill Dozer is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Harmonite is pretty fun. You know.
Yeah.
Game Freak's okay. I think that like, you know, Nintendo puts a lot of money into these things as well as Game Freak, and I think that like, I think they realized a long time ago that they don't have to do much with Pokemon, and it's going to sell, you know? And you want that return on investment. You know what I mean? So like they don't innovate much with that series, I feel. But people were so disappointed with what was the latest one? Sword and Shield? The fact that the fact that like other than the wild area, like the main game area, that you still couldn't turn the fucking camera, like people were like, this is it, this is the one, they're gonna let us turn the camera. No, of course they're not. And I'll tell you what, the next one they're not gonna either. But I don't know.
I mean, and of course I wish there was like more of it, but I do like the like different multiplayer options that they have now, where it's not just battling against each other during like these set times. I do think that they've added, like, with the cooking and camping features. I don't know. I think like definitely more than Final Fantasy and other games I've listed, they haven't changed as much as like other ones, but I do think that the changes they have made are pretty okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm glad that like when I play, like, when you say that you want to play like a Japanese like turn-based game, and like Final Fantasy isn't really that like what you turn to anymore. If I want to play a pocket monster game, then like Pokemon still is that, but I recently replayed a little bit of Yellow, and like looking at that versus like Sword and Shield now, I'm just like, they have changed a lot. I'm so glad that these things are there.
What's the other one? The one that came out not too long ago that's basically Pokemon, but not Pokemon. Temtem.
Yeah.
And everybody fucking loves Temtem, but like it's not Pokemon. So even though it like did so much more than that franchise did, no one gives a shit because it's not the licensed thing that they know.
Because what was the other one? Yokai Watch?
Yokai Watch. Yeah, that's a bit different though, I think.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think
and Yokai Watch technically, I believe, was making more in Japan than Pokemon was.
So as an outside observer, Pokemon, like, and I've played a couple of games here and there, but I'm by no means like a Poke expert.
You played X, didn't you, or Y?
Maybe.
You're not a Poke professor?
No, I'm not by any means. I can't claim that legally speaking. But I think that like if I were to take an aspect of Pokemon, that like a change that they could make that would speak to me would be focusing like on interacting with the Pokemon in ways outside of combat. I don't know how much of that there is, but I feel like focusing on that would be a really good thing.
There's a
little
bit.
Amount.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that probably a little bit more, or a little bit less than I would say like Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Like in some aspects, like when it comes to IVs and training and stuff like that. But I mean, you can still like, they have like a camp now, or you can like do like a cool cooking mini game thing, and like you can brush them and stuff. I guess.
I guess I should
be.
I guess I should be more specific. What I want is the ability to use Snorlax's tummy as a bed. That's what I want.
Until Pokemon gives me that, I don't give a shit about their franchise.
I do think that you're onto something, Ron. It's so funny because like sometimes you say these things that like would print Nintendo fucking money,
Yeah.
And I'm like basically what you're talking about is like the equivalent to a fucking Gigapet or like Nintendogs. Fucking reskin Nintendogs with Pokemon, and you would print money,
Well, yeah, because I think that like
Gachi pets.
I think that like a lot of when I listen to Pokemon fans talk about these games, like the conversation is largely around what Pokemon they love the best, right?
Yeah, rarely is it the game mechanics.
Right. So like they talk about that like while the game is still new, but the conversation always goes back to, this is the Pokemon that I love, and like I have so much affection for this Pokemon. And I feel like giving players the ability to like actually interact with these things in a meaningful way would be like a great thing. Like if you love if you love this Pokemon, like give me ways to like spend time with this Pokemon.
But you're totally right though. You're totally
Yeah.
right.
So
Like remember when they did the launch trailer? Not the launch trailer. The announcement trailer for Sword and Shield, right? And nobody online is talking about, oh, I'm so excited to do this or that. They're all talking about the fucking rabbit and Sobble, and like that's all they were fucking talking about, you know?
Yeah.
Is the fucking characters. So yeah, that's what they need to do. Just
think-
make it even more boring.
So basically, you want to play a game where you're the parent of the Pokemon trainer, where your kid just goes off and you just hang out with your Pokemon.
Oh, I don't. No, I don't. But people do, is what I'm saying.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I think that like it just seems like people's affinity for this stuff goes far beyond just like battling these Pokemon against each other, right?
Yes.
Because like the way like they have all these facts about like what kind of moods and temperament these Pokemon have, which like are things that seem to me to exist completely independent of the combat aspect of the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's not.
Is it not?
No.
Okay. I'm not.
Like each personality or mood or whatever like does affect the Pokemon.
I
and, like,
did
there's
just say I'm not an expert, so.
I'm letting you know so you can now pretend to be an expert because you'll know this fact.
Sure.
I mean, I also think that for Pokemon in general, because there is so many iterations of the game,
Yeah.
that if someone says they are into Pokemon, like the safer bet is to always be like, hey, what's your favorite, rather than like what game have you been playing, or because like maybe you haven't played the same one. Also, people play the games differently. Like some just want to breed the perfect like whatever team. Some people like me just fuck off with it and just see how many silly names you can come up with. And some like play like competitively in tournaments.
Yeah.
So like I think that because there is such a different like way that people engage with it, normally asking what's your favorite Pokemon is a pretty safe question.
Sure. And I guess the reason behind those answers is different depending on who you ask, but I don't know. I just feel like I know enough Pokemon fans who all speak of Pokemon in the same way that I think that it might not be a bad idea to see what would happen if you lean in that direction a little bit. I mean, I feel like it's a safe safe thing to try because people
It's the safest bet.
Yeah, so
It is the safest bet, man.
So, you know.
So another series that we've talked about before on the show, but I will always give opportunity for y'all to, is the Wolfenstein series.
Oh, hell yeah, man. Oh, hell yeah.
Obviously, there's been a lot of changes with that one, and I feel like it's been pretty successful.
Oh, man. Like, Wolfenstein, like, as it is now, like, I've always been a fan of Wolfenstein, but, like, I've never given a shit about BJ Blazkowicz as a character up until the New Order came out, and they actually made him, like, a real, like, legit, like, fleshed out, like, emotional.
He's a real boy.
Yeah, but, like, I was like, oh, man, BJ Blazkowicz is, like, he's awesome, you know? He's this, because you don't see multi-dimensional characters in first-person shooters, like, hardly ever. And, like, giving him all this character and story and depth, like, it feels really good to engage with. And also making these games, like, single-player only games, like, really was, like, we're just going to put everything into this campaign and this experience and, like, really, really make it as good as it can be. And now, like, those last two, not the last two games, but like New Order, New Colossus, they're like two of my favorite games ever, just because he made like the things that they do with that character on top of like the awesome gameplay of those games. It's just like, it's great.
And killing racist and Nazis.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing, right? Like, wasn't it? I think it was Carmack who was like, story in game is as important as story in a porno, right?
Yeah, but like John Carmack is
I
He's an
think it was
interesting guy.
Carmack. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
but,
I only watch porn for the plot. I fast forward to the sexy bits.
Sure.
You know, I like the more recent ones. What I've played of them.
Yeah.
I don't know that I ever played Wolfenstein before 3D.
Right.
You know, I played 3D. I played Spear of Destiny.
I guess that would be my 3D would be my first one as well.
Yeah. I played Return.
Yeah.
And I still think Return is my favorite of them, but like even that is like such a departure from 3D,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like I think about especially New Colossus. I think New Colossus is the game that really because I think that we'd had could you get that please? I think we've had other games like other first person shooters that like had stories, right? That like that people that people talk about that have like really well written stories, but like I don't think
Half-Life.
Yeah. But none of them like really resonated with me the way that New Colossus did. And like and I was just and like playing that I was like this is like I'm glad that Wolfenstein is this now, honestly. Like I'm glad like
the reboot, like the one that comes before New Colossus,
the Ravens
called Wolfenstein,
the Ravensoft one.
Yeah, so like New Colossus is a sequel to that game.
Yeah.
Like did that have much of a story going on? I know it had some of the same people.
So that was the one Wolfenstein game that I never got to play. I can't really speak to it, but you know, like, but I will say that like, I really enjoyed. I definitely enjoyed different things about New Colossus, especially how like clan members are like represented as like fucking dumb oafs and like absolute morons, and it's really great. And just but like more than anything though, like that was kind of like when around the time when like people were like, hey, like really fast paced like kinetic shooters are actually really cool, so let's like why don't we make one of those? And like Wolfenstein is definitely that, you know, and it's super fun to engage with, but that emphasis on story is really what draws me in though.
So we kind of talked a little bit about like, you know, how is the game like really changed versus like the other ones in the franchise, like much or not? Like is it like noticeable or like say it's a difference? Do you think that just putting in a different camera angle is enough to say that a game is different than like the rest of the ones, or like enough to make it really change or stand out?
Yeah,
I think it depends on the game.
Because the two examples that I really think of is whenever Resident Evil went from first person like horror to more like third person actiony, and then also with the new God of War being a fixed camera angle, being able to change it.
I think with God of War it matters less. You know, I think with Resident Evil going from like fixed camera angles to third person then to first person makes a much more significant difference.
Yeah,
I think that also, but it also changed it more. I think with Resident Evil, from the ones that I've played, where it is like more action adventure than like survival horror or just horror in general.
Yeah.
At least
well, that's what I mean. It's more significant though, you know.
Because like
fixed camera angle where you might not be able to see what is going to be on the next screen.
Yeah.
Versus third person where you can see a bunch around you.
Yeah.
Versus first person where you're like somewhat in the middle of those two.
So
makes a very big difference for a horror game. Whereas a more action based game like God of War,
like a hack and slash.
Yeah, like it. I think that if God of War had the story that it had. Like the new God of War had the story that it had and the production value that it had and the visuals that it had, but was still the same camera angle as the old God of Wars, I don't think anybody would have been mad.
Yeah. Like I think that
it would have been because that world is beautiful and I loved being able to see all of it.
Yeah.
But I agree. But I also think that the camera angle isn't necessarily the thing that like changed everything with Resident Evil,
I
but because it's such a specific like horror genre, like it just matter. You're correct, it matters more. And I think that and compared to like God of War 3 to the new remake God of War, I don't think it's as big of a change. Like
Yeah.
I think yes, obviously some things did change. It's more updated, but I mean like it's still doing the same thing where it's giving like Kratos to humanity because like before he had Pandora and now he has his boy.
Yeah.
Uh like I
I
don't
mean, I do
think
think it was a big deal. Like when we saw that reveal trailer for the gameplay reveal trailer for the new God of War, like that was the first thing I mentioned. No fixed
yes.
camera.
yeah.
Like, yeah,
So like
But
with Resident
yeah,
Evil, I think that like it's kind of weird, right? Because I think that with each time they change the camera, like that camera change also came with a bit of a tonal shift. And I think those two things, like in concert with one another, like is what made those changes feel so impactful. And I wonder, like, with the tone of Seven, if Resident Evil 7 had the tone and the themes and all the shit that it had in it, but it was back to third person or even back to fixed camera angles, like would that change in tone still have been as impactful, or is it just made more scary by the fact that like you're seeing it all in the first person?
it is made more scary. And let me tell you why. This week, I played Resident Evil 2 remake modded in first person.
Right.
Uh, and it's such a funny thing, right? Like, yeah, Resident Evil 2 remake's already a scary game, you know? But what
Ooh.
you don't realize, when you're playing in third person and you can see so much of your environment, you feel like that character movement is faster than it actually is.
Right.
In first person, Resident Evil 2 in first person, only difference, right? That's the only difference. Everything else is the same.
Feels so slow.
You feel like you are tiptoeing through that place,
Yeah.
even when you're sprinting, you know? Because the game wasn't intended to be played that way. But, you know, it's just a weird thing, man.
Yeah.
I think for me, the most like significant thing as far as like games evolving in that way, it has less to do with camera angle. I guess really it has everything to do with camera angle. I think about games going from 2D to 3D, like Mario, like Zelda, like Metroid. I think those are like super significant for this conversation.
Well, because I was like actually gonna ask you, like, because you've played a lot more Metroid than I have, right? And I think, so what do you think about when Metroid went to first person?
Yeah, I think it was awesome. Yeah. I mean, interesting thing about Metroid, right, is like Nintendo was so smart that they were like, okay, we've got these Texans making a first-person Metroid game.
Hell yeah, man.
We don't want to piss off these people that love Super Metroid because they've been waiting like 7-8 goddamn years for the next Metroid game. So what'd they do? They released Fusion like either the same day or the same week as Prime, you know? So like if that's what you want, you still have it, but also here's this new thing. And I think like it's Metroid. Like Metroid Prime is Metroid.
Yeah.
You know? It's the same thing. It just happens to be in third person or in first person.
Right.
Yeah.
Now I'm wondering like what a third person Metroid would look like.
Well, Other M
is that what it is?
It has a lot of third person parts. Yeah.
Another franchise that kind of like popped in my mind too, but is the Warcraft one, because it wasn't an MMO originally. Obviously, like there's the Warcraft 1, 2, and 3, and then it became World of Warcraft. And yeah, no, even though I've lost friends to it and I've lost years of my life to it, I'm so glad they did it. And obviously here they are, like what, 15, 20 years later, still killing the game. I mean, no, it's like I don't know, like 17 years, I think.
Sure, close enough.
But yeah, I mean, they're still like the #1 MMO, and I just like I can't think of any other game. I mean, maybe StarCraft is close. And like I know Overwatch is like popular now, but like just how much money World of Warcraft has brought Blizzard.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I think
they're smart, right? All of their franchises make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yeah.
Diablo, Overwatch, all of them do.
Yeah.
Shit, even Heroes of the Storm does well, But
they've just evolved the way that they monetize these games like over that last like 2 decades, right? And because before, like when we were talking about like StarCraft or Warcraft or Diablo, like they were just selling, like you bought the expansion pack and that was it, right? That was the only other monetization of that game that there was. Yeah. And then you come along with World of Warcraft, and there's like a subscription fee, and on top of that, you're buying the expansion packs. And then I'm sure that I haven't played World of Warcraft in a while, but I'm sure there are other ways that you could spend money in that game too now.
There's always been.
Yeah, and
gotta love that.
Yeah, and then like with Overwatch, right? Like they were just like, hey, we'll give you all these characters for free, no problem. But you want some more things to put on them. Well, you're gonna give us a few bucks, right? So
Overwatch is such a good deal, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you got to buy the game, but like, you get all the content that's important.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
even when Overwatch 2 happens, the people who are still on Overwatch 1 are gonna have
access to
the majority of that content,
right? So yeah, I mean, it's hard. Like that's one of the things, right? I feel like it's hard to argue against the value of Overwatch from like a monetary standpoint, just because of like that game's been out since 2016, so you've got almost 5 years of content. Like outside of like whatever they sell in the loot box, you got like 5 years of additional content at no additional cost, right?
And it just depends, right? It depends on you. Like, I don't play Overwatch.
Sure.
My daughter plays a ton of Overwatch. As such, I have spent a lot of money on Overwatch over the years, but like everything I've bought for her is not anything that is imperative to gameplay,
It's all cosmetic.
Yeah.
Which we've talked about before in previous microtransactions we're totally fine with.
Microtransactions.
Yes, my name is Michael L. Transactions.
Michael Scott Transactions. Was there any franchises that like y'all wanted to bring up that we haven't talked about?
I mean, I feel like it could go on forever. With Proteus, I have been thinking a lot about Doom, and I really do like Doom 2016 quite a lot. But like, I don't know, man. Part of me thinks I'm just like a stubborn old bastard that wants things to stay the same. You
are.
Like,
you are. Yeah.
I'm playing Proteus, and I'm like, like glory kills are kind of dumb. Why did I like that? I'm like, why do I want to have to like saw something for more ammo?
Yeah.
I want to use the weapons I want to use,
right.
Not what the game tells me that I should be using. Yeah. And I think that's part of the reason why Eternal spoke to me even less, because Eternal is very much, okay, now you need to do this.
Yeah.
Now you need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And playing Proteus just reminded me of that. Like Proteus just reminds me of like Quake and old Doom, where you're constantly switching weapons, not because the game is telling you that you need to use this right now. You're using it because you want to use it right now,
or you're out of ammo.
Yeah, or you're out of ammo. Sure.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, man, I don't know. I still would say that I really do love 2016, but like, I kind of think old Doom was better. Maybe like three is a different thing.
We'll
right?
see. Like I think that 3.
We can all agree that Doom 3 is like its own thing.
We'll see. Like I've always felt like I've always looked at Doom 3 as like a very kind of interesting experiment with Doom, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like
I wouldn't say it's bad.
Yeah, it's just like it's Doom. Like there's like, okay, let's take Doom, and now it's a survival horror game.
Right.
And
right.
that
I don't think Doom 3 is bad.
It's like the episode of Futurama with the long finger, like what if machine.
The thing longer.
Yeah. And Doom 3 isn't like it. Doom 3 did some weird things, but like it's not bad by any means.
Cool.
I think that like what they tried to do with Doom 3 was a lot more like. I think that a lot of like with Dooms 1 and 2, I think like a lot of the world building was just like, it's just that stuff around you, like the environments, and like you're looking at them and like the map names, and then the ending screen, right? And I think that what Doom 3 tried to do is like, well, let's tell more of that story as you're playing the game. Like, here's some text logs, here's some audio logs and stuff, right? And then, you're going to go to hell a couple times. It's fine.
Yeah, it happens.
And it kind of, but it definitely exists as its own thing. And I honestly feel like,
But it's so funny because none of them do, right?
yeah,
Like with Eternal, we've come to find that like they're all canon.
yeah,
They're all part of the same canon, as
Yeah.
a matter of fact, which is just so funny to think about.
sure.
But
But like, I don't know. I think that Doom very easily, in like some ways, could have just faded into nothing at some point. And the way that they kind of rebooted it was like a very very cool thing to see.
yeah,
I think that as a follow up to that, though, Eternal is a bit of a disappointment, just because I feel like it lost like certain things that I think made Doom 2016 like great.
it just feels like each iteration is getting more
Yeah.
constricting, right?
And-
It's like we've talked about with Bulletstorm.
Yeah.
Well,
like in that
it's not a creative kill.
Yeah.
It's kill the way you want me to kill.
and like and even now like that Doom Eternal is like more of like a games as a service kind of thing, which like also feels weird for Doom. So, but I think that there is I was having a conversation the other day with somebody about that had never played the original Doom games, and I was like, I think that I honestly do think that everybody should play the original Doom at least once, just because it's like I personally consider it to be a perfect video game, and like. And I think that like there's a lot to see there, right? As far as like, well, if you've been playing shooters and then like going back and seeing like one of the very very early ones, it's worth like at least looking at, right? But,
well, especially
it shows a progress in the genre.
Yeah.
Of like that video game. Like,
I mean, not even just that though, right? Like it shows a progress in like Doom. Yeah, it was a big deal for first-person shooters, but like it was a big deal for PC gaming in general, right? More copies of Doom than Windows,
right?
That's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
It was a big thing for modding. Like games weren't modded to the extent that they were after Doom. You know, it's fucking crazy. Deathmatch,
yep.
Right?
I was just about to say deathmatch.
Yeah.
So, and like if you haven't, I'm talking to you guys and people listening, if you haven't, like, definitely watch the episode of the Netflix series High Score that's about Doom. It's very interesting to like listen to John Romero talk about like building Doom and like figuring out Doom with John Carmack, and listening to like the ways that like John Carmack like got like from a programming perspective like got Doom to work. And it's really cool to like listen to how that game came together. Unfortunately, like they couldn't get John Carmack on camera to talk about the game, which I really wish they would have, because like, but
he's not interested, dude.
Yeah.
After like all the beef with Bethesda, you know.
Yeah. So.
But we got people talking about him, so that's almost as good.
Yeah, and if you have it, you should definitely look at that guy's Twitter sometime, because it is fascinating.
Also read Masters of Doom.
Yeah.
Also, watch Doom Patrol. Don't join the Legion of Doom. They're not great.
Actually, I don't know, man. Those guys seem pretty damn cool.
Yeah, but like unless you have powers, like if you're just like a lame-o like us, you're just gonna get wrecked by them. They're just gonna fuck with you.
I want to hang out with that gorilla feller.
Yeah, he's gonna kick your ass.
Oh no, never mind. Solomon Grundy's there. I don't want to. That guy looks like.
I mean, Lex Luthor doesn't have powers,
Yeah. Well, I feel like
but
some people consider
his power is being rich.
Captain Cold doesn't really have powers.
He's got those cool sunglasses though.
Iron Man doesn't either, but he's a part of the Avengers, so like whatever. Do y'all have any closing thoughts on the topic?
Well, I guess sometimes, I don't know. I think that experimenting with change is always positive, whether or not people actually like it in the end, I think it is good to be open to the idea of an established, long-standing thing being different sometimes, just to see if, it can be better.
Yeah. That's how you end up with Symphony of the Night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I think it's super fun that now there's been like decades and decades of video games, and there's been established franchises like in and out of those, seeing where they've like ended up and seeing how they've changed, and some try to innovate and some not as much, I think is super fun. There's a bunch of ones that we haven't mentioned, like obviously. So if there's any that you think that should be talked about and commended, or you have hoarded, let us know on Discord, 'cause we got one of those. We also have YouTube, so if you want to drop a comment on the YouTube video, be super great. We also have, we're also on most podcast apps. We have an Instagram, and bye guys.
Bye.
Bye.